Atlanta, Georgia, home to the 2014 ACC Coastal and Orange Bowl champion Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. And today, a new swarm of Jackets is introduced. It's National Signing Day. We have wall-to-wall coverage on ESPN3. Hello and welcome, everybody, at the Edge Center Museum inside the Georgia Tech Athletic Association. I'm Brandon Gaudin. Very pleased to be bringing you this production for the second consecutive year. And let's go ahead, before we get the party started, and go over what we're going to do today. Here is a look at the schedule of events for today's action. We're going to, of course, have the announcement of each player signing from start to finish. Each coach will come up and sit with me on stage that recruited each respective player. We'll show some highlights. We'll talk with the coach about the player. We will also sit down with the 4 early enrollees. 4 guys are already on Tech's campus, have already committed prior to today. We'll sit down with each of those guys and have interviews. Then on the offensive side of the football, we'll talk with quarterback Justin Thomas, and we'll have a separate sit down with freshman All-American Kashun Freeman. We have 2 very special features, a look back at the Orange Bowl. We put together a package for that victory, and of course, Tech's win in Athens. We will spotlight that as well. Mike Babinski, athletic director, is going to sit down with me a little bit later in the program. We're going to go over the schedule and talk other things around the football program with him. And then, of course, last but not least, Coach Paul Johnson will sit down for a one-on-one recap. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at what the Jackets lost as a refresher on both offense and defense before we get in to this new class of 2015 Jackets. As you can see, and as many of you well know, a lot of losses. 7 ball carriers on offense, 4 A-backs, 3 B-backs, 3 wide receivers gone, and then the All-American on the offensive line, Shaq Mason. Defensively, not as many losses, a handful, including the starters there, and Sean Green, the defensive tackle, Isaiah Johnson back at the safety position, and Quayshawn Neely, the linebacker. Tremaine McNair and Kyle Travis lost as well. So that's a look at what the Jackets lost. And now it's time to see what the Jackets have coming in. And it's my pleasure to introduce, as we start this announcement process, Director of Player Personnel at the podium, Pete Hurt.
Thank you. Our first signee is Will Bryan, offensive lineman, 6'4", 285 pounds, from Livonia, Georgia, Franklin County High School, recruited by Coach Brian Cook.
And I am pleased to be joined by Coach Brian Cook. Of course, Will Bryan, an early enrollee, so this is one that we already knew was here, Coach. This was the first commitment of the class, wasn't it?
He was. He was a guy that we targeted early and did a great job in our camp, and a guy that we thought just has a great skill set for what we do and who we want to be.
Of course, he has an interesting story because his dad played at UGA. His brother Justin started playing baseball at Georgia, and then now is on the scout team as a B-back here at Georgia Tech on the football team. So it was a very, very interesting process to get him here to the Flats, wasn't it?
We had to recruit the whole family, and when we got their mailbox converted, you know, to have the Georgia Tech GT on there and got the other stuff off, we knew we were in good shape.
So it was a UGA mailbox, and they moved it to
I can't comment on that. It is now a Georgia Tech mailbox.
But he was, you told me when we met the other day, he was at 260 pounds. He's already put on 25 pounds of muscle. That's a good sign.
He's a hard worker. He's a kid that's nasty. He's a high motor kid. And he might be more anxious for spring practice than, you know, about anybody in the program right now. I know he's eager to get going.
Offensive lineman, do you know if you guys project him as a guard or tackle or where you see him at yet?
That's something we can sort out with time. I think, you know, his skill set to be an athletic tackle is probably a natural fit for us, but that's something we'll sort out with time.
And lastly, a 4.0 GPA. That doesn't hurt either, right?
It doesn't, hopefully. His brother's doing well in school, and now hopefully we can let them compete in the classroom and on the field.
All right, so Will Bryan, commit number 1, one of the early enrollees. Let's get right on to number 2, and for that announcement, we turn it back over to Pete Hurt.
The second one we have is Quade Wimmerskirts, B-back, 6 foot, 205 pounds, from Milton, Florida, Pace High School, again recruited by Coach Brian Cook.
So a B-back here, as I said, another early enrollee. You told me when we met that this is a guy that runs through tacklers. He doesn't avoid contact, he seeks it.
He does. I think he'll continue the legacy and style of a, you know, Zach Lasky, St. John Days, and you know, he's a physical kid. He doesn't avoid anybody. In Florida, there's some good running backs. 2 years he was the first team All-State in the largest classification in Florida, which I think is a pretty good accomplishment. You know, and if it wasn't for his style, I think the hairdo says it all.
Yeah, we're going to get to see that hairdo in a little bit. Not only that, he's well liked. He was the homecoming king, right?
He takes great pride in that.
But with, you know, you're in charge of these positions. With Days and Lasky out, it's obvious there's a chance for some immediate carries, and I'm sure that Quaid knows that coming in if he works hard.
That's right. I think, you know, at that position, we're going to play a young guy, and it's just going to be a matter of who's going to win the job through spring practice and preseason camp, and there'll be some great competition there and some youth, which will be good.
All right, 2 signees in the books yesterday. These guys, as I said, these early enrollees already on campus, and I had a chance to sit down with both Will and Quaid, and we roll that tape now. And we'll start with Will. Of course, you've got the interesting story of your dad actually played at UGA in the mid-'80s, but we won't hold that against you. And your brother started playing baseball at UGA, but now he's at Tech playing football. So just tell us what's going on with the family and your commitment to Georgia Tech.
Oh man, yeah, that was actually quite a while ago, about a year and a half now. So my dad, you know, he said he played football back in '83 and '84 at UGA, and a lot of people have given me a lot about that. You know, and but since I committed, he's actually become this like full Georgia Tech fan. You know, he always told me that he wasn't a UGA fan. He's just a Will Bryan fan, and wherever I'm going to go, he's going to support me. So now he's always wearing navy blue and gold, saying "to hell with Georgia," and it's a lot of fun.
Well, but tell us a quick story about your brother, because he was a baseball player at Georgia, but now last year he was on the scout team football-wise for Tech. So how did that happen?
Oh yeah, one time I came up here on just a visit, and my brother was with me, and some of the coaches were like, "Dang, that guy's like 6'5", you know, 240 pounds. You ought to be playing football." And my brother just thought about it. He was like, "You know, I've always wanted to try playing football." And after that, they worked it out where he could get enrolled here as a student, and then he walked on the football team. So he's been having a really good time with it.
Yeah, now you'll get one more year with him because he'll be a 5th year this coming season.
Yeah, this next season will be fun.
Yeah, well, I know your dad said he bought his first Georgia Tech piece of equipment when he got a hat. And he said it was a house divided but a family united, because now you guys are all, so it's certainly a neat story. Meanwhile, Quaid, you had committed to Louisiana Lafayette but then switched over to Georgia Tech. You said that was an offer you were waiting for, correct?
Oh, yes, sir. I was always, ever since Georgia Tech started looking at me, I was always pulling for the offer. And whenever the season started, my senior season, before I decided to commit to Louisiana Lafayette, but I was still talking to Georgia Tech on the side, because in case something happened during the season, I just want to have Louisiana Lafayette to fall back on, because they're a great school and nothing against them or anything. It just I just saw bigger opportunities with the education and athletically here at Georgia Tech.
Yeah, and you're going to start as a B-back at that position. So when you saw guys like Zach Lasky and St. John Days last year being seniors, having that great success, but now moving on, did that entice you at all to step in and say, hey, there's a pretty big void there at B-back, maybe I can help fill?
Yeah, and it was a huge reason why I came here and early enrolled. Seeing them leaving and knowing there's only one person or 2 people right now in the spot, and there's a lot of young people here, so there's a lot of room to for playing time and everything. Just got to get in there, work hard, and see how the season goes.
Did either one of those guys, Zach Lasky or St. John Days, did you talk to them a lot during your recruiting visits? Did they have any words of wisdom? How intricate was their role in your commitment to Tech?
First time I came here for the Georgia Tech football camp, Coach Cook and Zach Lasky, they both showed me around the campus and everything. And then every game I came to, I was about 4 games I came to and watched. I always talked to Zach Lasky after the game and just talk to him.
Yeah, good guys to pick the brain of. We'll go back to Will for a second. What do you think about being an offensive lineman in Paul Johnson's system? I would imagine that has to be pretty appetizing, right?
Oh, yes, definitely. See, I've always loved run blocking. So throughout all of high school, we ran like a zone scheme in my high school, but I've always enjoyed firing off the ball, you know, and with this triple option offense, that's exactly what you do, like almost every play. So I'm definitely excited about that.
Well, I'll ask each of you guys. I'll start with you, Will. Being an early enrollee, you haven't gotten into the meat and potatoes of the football season, obviously, but what has this adjustment period been like so far, going from being a high school student last semester to a college student this semester?
Oh, well, it's definitely been a big jump, academically especially here. But the good thing is they have a lot of great people in the academic advisement place where they're definitely taking care of us in every way. I meet with my advisor 3 times a week. He makes sure I'm up to date with my homework and know when all my tests and quizzes are coming up. So they'll take good care of you.
And just tell us what's going on right now on the football side. I'm sure a lot of workouts ramping up for you guys.
Yeah, but being here at Georgia Tech, there's a lot of accountability you have to take up for. And so workouts, we lift 3 times a week on Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. And we run 2 times a week, early in the morning, on Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Really early in the morning.
Yeah, I'm sure that's fun. By the way, say your last name for the fan base.
Weimerskirch.
Weimerskirch, Quade Weimerskirch. And yours is a little bit easier, Will Bryan. Yeah, by the way, you ever going to cut that hair?
Probably not.
How long have you had it like that?
Since 4th grade. So.
You have a pick for that fro or anything?
I do back at the house.
Well, guys, we're excited to have both of you.
Sir.
Thanks for spending the time. Welcome to Tech.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
It's great to be here.
Thanks to both Will and Quade for the interview. Welcome to Georgia Tech, guys. Well, this is the only day of the year where fax machines are still used, but I'm told in my ear that 4 new faxes have come in. We're going to release those and tell you who are the newest Yellow Jackets, but first, a quick timeout. Ever meet. He sure doesn't play nice. 3rd and 9. Here we go. 2 wide to the right, 2 wide to the left. Stout in the pocket. Throws. Intercepted. Chris Milton. 45. Turns out to the right side and upfield. 45. 40 down the right sideline. 25. 10. 5. Touchdown. Chris Milton. One of the great highlights from last year, Chris Milton with a pick 6 in that win over Clemson. Welcome back, everybody. National Signing Day coverage here for the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets, and it is time to announce signee number 3, and we turn it back over to Director of Player Personnel, Pete Hurt.
Our 3rd signee is Victor Alexander, linebacker. 5'10", 220 pounds. From Jacksonville, Florida, Trinity Christian High School, recruited by Coach Lamar Owens.
Congratulations. I know that got a round of applause here. Obviously a prize recruit and one that went down to the wire, so I'm sure you're breathing a little easier today.
Oh yes, this was definitely a labor of love, and the great thing about Victor he comes from a strong family and family values are extremely important to him, and he is as good a person as he is a player. So just very excited.
Well, the accolades sort of speak for themselves, but the one thing you told me is he's the Jacksonville Player of the Year.
Correct.
And for those that don't know Florida football, that is one of the richest cities in the country.
Correct.
So many D1 players out of there, so that's quite a feat.
Correct. And he is, he is a phenomenal young man, and when he plays the game, he plays with a certain level of passion that you can only dream that everybody plays with, and we're just so excited about him, choosing to be here in Atlanta and choosing to be with our program. I mean, he's the type of guy that can really make an early impact on our entire program.
And definitely a Mike linebacker, right?
Correct.
I mean,
correct.
Not an outside guy. He is rock 'em, sock 'em in the middle. Correct.
Coach Roof and the defensive staff, when they watched film last evaluation period, he was a guy that really stood out, and he had always been at the top of our list. So we're just thrilled to have him choose Georgia Tech.
Lastly, what's it like when it goes down to the wire like this? You guys been on the road working so hard to get all these guys. When this finally comes, you see that fax come through. What's that feeling like as a coach?
It's like being up 14 in the Orange Bowl and getting in the victory formation.
I like it. Great analogy. Victor Alexander, the third Georgia Tech Yellow Jacket announcement here in the 2015 class. Time for number 4. Let's go back to the podium.
Number 4, wide receiver Brad Stewart, 6'1". I'm going to try that again. With my throat clear this time. Brad Stewart, wide receiver, 6'1", 190 pounds, from Savannah, Georgia. Benedictine Military School, again, recruited by Coach Lamar Owens.
I know a guy that went to that high school. I think he's right here, isn't he?
Yes.
So
yes. I mean, to recruit all these guys was fun. This was a very exciting class, but to recruit Brad was really touched me, because we from the same place, went to the same high school, and even had some of the same experiences during high school.
Yeah, so you told me that he won the Ashley Deering Award, which is for Savannah's most versatile athlete.
Right.
And you won that award in 2001, and your father won that, I believe, in, was it 79?
Correct. Brad is definitely the sleeper of the class. Just an extremely athletic young man, and I've known his family for years. I went and watched him play basketball a couple weeks ago. He didn't do so hot that night, but ended up having 2 dunks the next night, and his baseball team won the state championship last year, so he's just an all-around athlete. Yeah,
in addition to that good size, lastly, you said he's really good like Walter and Smelter were, one-on-one coverage, just going up and making a play.
Correct. That's the thing that I'm most excited about having Brad on our team, is when we get in the red zone and we want to throw the jump ball like we did with Darren and DeAndre some this year. I think he's the type of guy that can make some plays off his feet.
All right, thanks, Coach Lamar Owens.
Thank you.
Before we get to the next 2 recruits that have signed, they are in. We're going to get to those in a second. But yesterday, we sat down with Keshun Freeman, freshman All-American, talked about that defense, what was lost, what's coming up. Let's play that interview now. Well, it is Keshun, by the way, right?
Yes,
That's
sir.
what your mother calls you. It
That's
seems
what
like
Mom calls
everyone
me.
else on the team calls you Keshun or Key, but I
That's
just want to clear that
different,
up. All right, so I am correct, Yellow Jacket Nation. Last year you sat in this chair as one of the early enrollees.
Yes, I did.
If I would have told you at that point in time you were going to be a freshman All-American, what would you have said?
I probably would have just laughed and just probably kind of thought that, hey, I'm just going to do what I got to do to just do good in classes and just do what I can to play at least a little bit. But hey, I did good this year, and the team really helped me out this year, and that's a big honor that I think is probably just a team award compared to just a Keshun award.
Well, speaking of a team award, I mean, this defense as a unit made huge strides throughout the year. They struggled. You guys struggled early on. I think you would admit that. Can you point to anything in particular for the reason the defense got so much better as the year progressed?
Yeah, as with each game and with each practice, we kind of made it more about each other as we went along. And at first, it wasn't just we were just kind of getting used to things. And after a while, you kind of bond with the people you're kind of going to war with each year. And so each game, we came closer and became closer. And the closer and tighter we got, the more we played better, because we stopped worrying about making like selfish plays. It was more about helping your brother make a play. And so that's really what helped us take the next step and become a better defense.
And with the wins that you guys had this year, all those big marquee wins, especially Georgia, obviously, and then the Orange Bowl victory, how special was this season?
It was very special. My dad always mentions to me, do you know how blessed you are that you came in and you got to play as a freshman and you beat Georgia your freshman year and you got to the best bowl game and you defeated Mississippi State. And he always just reminds me of how blessed I am and how big it is just for me to be doing this as a freshman. And I think we're so proud of each other this year, and it's just an amazing year. It was so fun, and all of it, the coaching staff, everyone made it possible. The fans made it possible. And just to know that you have so many people supporting you just makes it even better. So I think that's a big up for us.
Well, I mentioned you came in as an early enrollee. So we won't talk about what led up to that first game, but how much did you grow from game 1 till game 14 in the Orange Bowl?
I grew so much. My first game, I played a good bit, but I was getting adjusted to things, and coach was still kind of correcting me with some things. And of course, the first few games, watching film, I had to kind of look at what I was doing and look at what kind of mistakes I was making. After that, I kind of got in the groove of things. I worked a lot with Adam Gotsis and Sean Green and just pretty much the whole D-line. And just to be motivated by people like Quayshawn Neely and the whole defense, and just to know that they were right beside me just made me feel like, hey, you can go and do it, man. So I just continued to work hard and continue to do what I wanted to do and what the coaches wanted me to do. Just the best thing for us was just to play Georgia Tech football, and that's what my team helped me do. And so by playing Georgia Tech football, I became much better by the end of the year.
Two more things. One is a team, one personal. We'll start with a team question. You mentioned a guy like Quayshawn Neely. You lose him. You lose Isaiah Johnson, a couple others. But a lot of this defense is back. When you look to next year defensively, what do you see?
Of course, we lost 3 great players on our defense, Sean Green, Isaiah Johnson, and Quayshawn Neely. But I think there are a lot of guys that are ready to step up, and it's going to be very exciting to see where we go from here. I think we're going to have a really strong defensive line next year, especially having Jabari Hunt-Days back and adding on Kendarius Whitehead. And, we got a lot of young guys that played last year, and so this is going to help us out in the next few seasons to come. So I think we're going to come and we're going to be even stronger.
All right, and lastly, if I told you, I asked you, what do you need to improve personally before August, what would you say? What are you really trying to step up in your game?
Well, I'm trying to, first of all, work on my size because I'm a little undersized right now, but I'm going to definitely get my size up, and I'm just going to go through drills and kind of get my hands moving a little bit faster and working on my speed. Just do whatever I have to do to make sure I help the team out.
All right, well, congrats on a heck of a freshman
season.
Thank
you so much.
Look forward to sophomore year. Keshawn Freeman, 9.5 tackles for loss, 4.5 sacks to lead the Jackets this past year. Well, I talked about 7 running backs between A and B back that Tech lost this past season. We're about to gain 2 more. Let's go back over to the podium and Pete Hurt.
We have the next signee is Omari Jarrett, A-back, 5'10", 168 pounds from Douglasville, Georgia, New Manchester High School, recruited by Coach Andy McCollum.
New Manchester High School, and as you told me, a very quick, a very shifty A-back.
He is, and number one, it's tough to sit up here and follow Keshawn Freeman on his interview. What a class act he is. But Omari is, he is, he was one of the ones we targeted early in the process, the offense staff, Coach Johnson, and for that A-back position, he can run. Went to a combine out, and I think it was Texas early, and we saw times, and just comes from a great family. Great people. I know they're excited, and we're excited about Omari. His high school head coach is Rob Cleveland, season ticket holder for Georgia Tech for a lot of years. It's great to walk into high school and you walk in, you got Georgia Tech presence. Not a lot of high schools we get to do that too, and I know when I took Coach Johnson there, it was like everybody came out of woodworks, and we even had teams from other schools I won't mention. Fans came to take pictures with Coach Johnson, so it was awesome.
Well, New Manchester High School that he went to is very new, just 4 years old, I believe, right? So he's kind of the first big-time prized recruit.
He is. He is a 4-year starter there. School opened up 4 years ago, and this is their first senior class coming out of there. Led them to the playoffs, team captain. Same thing, all region, all county, punt returner, kick returner, played DB, and so he's what we're looking forward to, A-back, and Coach Owens did a great job with him, going to visit him too. And, it's like anything recruiting. Everything recruiting is about team, and it's about our whole staff, and everybody fit in on this.
Lastly, he won the Howard Thompson Award, which I know is really prestigious. Tell us a little bit.
It is in Douglas County, in that county area. It's the award they give to the top student athlete that goes along with academics, character, athletics. It's one of the most prestigious awards given in Douglas County for all the schools in that area. And he won that award, and that's a big-time award, and very proud that a guy that's coming to this great school gets that type of award that fits into what we're all about at Georgia Tech.
All right, Coach McCullum, don't go anywhere because another one of your guys has just signed on the dotted line. Let's turn it back over to Pete Hurt.
The next one is Kervante Benson, A-back, 5'8", 190 pounds, from Marietta, Georgia, Marietta High School. Again, recruited by Coach Andy McCollum.
Marietta High School. I know a guy who went to Marietta High School.
He has no choice to be good.
That's where Coach went. Coach went to Marietta.
It is. He's a Blue Devil, and Blue Devil is a tight-knit family in Marietta, and so Kervante is. He hadn't played football but 3-4 years. Plays for Coach Scott Burton at Marietta, and he's a workhorse. He's 100-meter state champ. I think his freshman and sophomore year. Last year was third in the long jump with 23.6. For a guy that's 5'9", he's 205 pounds. Very explosive, still a raw talent. I mean, still got a lot of, but he's a very tough, physical, and still learning the game. So we're very excited about Kervante.
So 5'9", 205, A-back, B-back, maybe both? Don't know
I think
yet.
Coach Johnson sees him as both, and Coach Cook and Coach Owens, and because I know he's physical enough to do a lot of things, and loves playing, and he's also, which you don't see a lot of times this day and time, he's a 3-sport letterman. He's also a basketball player and football, and does the track, and was in a lot of events last year. Has a younger brother that's a track athlete. His family, I think, has got a history of athletes. So, and he's a Blue Devil, so he has no choice to come and represent.
Yeah, lastly, he broke all the school records. 3,500 rushing yards, 36 touchdowns this past year. I think he had 320 yards in a single game.
He did. He broke my rushing record at Marietta. No, I'm just kidding. No, he had. He had 320 yards. I think against South Cobb. Was Atlanta Touchdown Cub Player of the Week in that game and broke the record. And there's been a lot of, including the former coach Friday Richards, that was the coach here. But he broke all the rushing records. And there's been a lot of great running backs come through Marietta High. So.
All right, thanks, Coach. Kervante Benson is recruit number 6 for the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. The good news is I'm hearing in my ear that these faxes are rolling in. So we have guys to announce. We're going to take a break. We've got 4 more on the other side of this timeout. 2nd and 4. Ball is on Georgia's 8. Handoff, Lasky inside the 5 and across the goal line. Touchdown, Georgia Tech. 4:22 on the clock, and the Jackets have taken the lead. I think everybody remembers that game. We're going to see a little bit more from that here in a bit, but first we have 2 more signees to announce. 6 in the books, X number still to come. Let's go back to Pete Hurt.
The next one is Brant Mitchell, linebacker, 6'2", 240 pounds, from Knoxville, Tennessee, Webb School, recruited by Coach Mike Seawalk.
And I am with Coach Seawalk, 2nd linebacker that we've announced in this class, Coach, and another tough middle linebacker.
He's a very, very tough middle linebacker. He comes from a team that won the state championship 3 years in a row, Division II. He was a 2-time Mr. Tennessee football player as a junior and as a senior. And in his senior year, he did a great job as far as a running back, too. He rushed for 77 yards for Dave Meskey and the Webb Spartans. They did a great job, and he was kind of excited about that whole deal. Very physical football player, a downhill football player. Coach Roof liked him early on. Andy McCollum liked him early on, and he liked us. He'd been down a couple different times and kind of enjoyed it, and then in July is when he decided to pull the trigger, and we were just excited to get him.
Well, you mentioned 3 straight state titles. This past year, he was both the offensive and defensive MVP of the state title game. I tried to go back and check. The records only go back 10 years, but he's the only guy to do that.
He had a heck of a football game. When he was a sophomore, he was also the defensive MVP of the state championship game. And then as a senior, he became both the offense and the defense. He had 145 yards in the first half with 3 touchdowns. And then he had a pick 6 in the second half to get it. And he said it was kind of funny that the announcer went out there and said, hey, the MVP is on offense is Brant Mitchell. He was excited and hopeful. And then he says, as he started walking off, he says the MVP of the defense was Brant Mitchell. So he had to come back in, and he was great. And then, you know, it was a real joy to recruit him. He's an upbeat guy. He's a good student. He really works hard at the Webb School. His mom and dad, Chris, and they just love it. Miss Beth, they think that the world of him, and she's she's an athlete herself. She played basketball, so she's having a good time.
Well, Brant also punted, 31 yards average, so I think Ryan Rodwell's job is safe, right?
Oh, it's safe. And he'll make the other team punt, so I think our job's happy too. Yes, he doesn't want to punt in college.
All right, welcome to Georgia Tech, Brant Mitchell. Now it's time for recruit number 8 of the 2015 class. Back to Pete Hurt.
The next one we have is A.J. Gray, safety, 6'1", 196 pounds, Sadlersville, Georgia, Washington County High School.
Yeah, he was announced as a safety, which he is. Also played quarterback, and I believe the read option is what he ran in high school.
He did. They are a power running football team at Washington County, but A.J. Gray is probably the most decorated football player we got. I mean, he has 17 Player of the Year opportunities with Central Georgia, Augusta. He was the AJC Player of the Year All Division. He was the Parade All-American. He was the Gatorade Player of the Year. He comes from a very athletic family. I mean, Dr. Gray is the principal at Washington County. He was an athlete in college. He did both track and basketball. His wife played basketball for South Carolina State. His sister is Elisa Gray. She plays at North Carolina basketball. And his older brother played at Troy, Marlowe, and so the youngest one has a chance to do something. Miss Ashley, she'll have something to do too. But AJ was phenomenal. The senior year, he accounted for 64 touchdowns in one season. He rushed for 39, passed for 21, and had 4 pick sixes. So I think he's a guy that can do it just about any which way you want. He's been a merit scholar all 3 years. As a sophomore, he was a Player of the Year in Region 3 in basketball. He's got 1,000 points, over 1,000 points in his career, and they retired his jersey in football at the last banquet. Yeah, and his sister already had her jersey retired, and she's, as you said, she's a freshman All-American at North Carolina, so she's a darn good basketball player. But nice to get a safety like this when you lose a guy like Isaiah Johnson. Very, very physical, very similar to Isaiah Johnson. You see him come down. Sometimes you'll see on these highlights where he's lined up at 10 or 11 yards deep, but he makes a tackle for a 2-yard loss. Goes to the football, brings his hips at the point of contact. He has a great burst. He understands the game. He doesn't have to think. He just reads and reacts to it. I think that's the one thing that you like about AJ, that there's not much of a process in there. He just goes ahead and is very, very physical when he gets to it. I think that a lot of people think that he could be the a quarterback too, but he is just such a good athlete. And I mean, any sport that he's picked up, he seemed to have excelled at. And we're really pleased to have him. He's got a great smile and a great personality. He's got that it factor. When he walks into a huddle, you just know that you're going to win. And I think on both sides of the ball, I think the kids that were recruited up here this past weekend, they kind of enjoyed him, both our guys and the recruits, that he was just he's such a humble individual and such a great team environment player that he'll be in our locker room, that you're going to be pleased to see him. And if the success that he had in high school can transition to college, which we believe we will, I think he'll have a few more awards. Yeah, like you said, 17 Player of the Year awards, Parade All-American. Congrats on this one, Coach. It was tough. It's the first Parade All-American I ever got to see. So yeah. A.J. Gray is signee number 8 of the 2015 class. We've got 2 more to announce, but I mentioned you might see a little bit more of that 109th meeting between Tech and UGA, and we have a package for you to take a look at now. This warrants it. Thomas under center, looking to throw for the fade. Waller goes up and grabs it. Touchdown, Georgia Tech! Send this thing to overtime. Here comes the kick. It's on the way. And it is gone! Butker got it! He cleared it by about a half yard, but he got it, and we're tied at 24 and destined for overtime.
What a kick! What a kick by Harrison Butker!
Receivers right to the wide side of the field. Hudson Mason has thrown for 194 yards. This time, passes, and it is intercepted! Intercepted! Picked off! Picked off! It's picked off! It is DJ White who intercepted it, and the Jackets have come into Athens and stunned Georgia in one of the best football games you will ever see. For the next 364 days, the state of Georgia belongs to the Yellow Jackets of Georgia Tech. Well, that one, that never gets old. 30-24, the win over in Athens on Thanksgiving weekend, the 109th meeting between Tech and UGA. I've got our next coach up here on the podium. That means it's time for our next signee.
Our next one is Christian Philpott, wide receiver, 6'3", 203 pounds, from Tallahassee, Florida, North Florida Christian, recruited by Coach Buzz Preston.
Welcome to the stage, Coach Buzz. Always with a smile on your face, especially on signing day when all your guys sign on the dotted line like Christian Philpott did. And, you know, he said something that I know had to be music to your ears during his recruiting process. He said he felt that Tech, playing wide receiver at Tech, gave him a chance to make big plays, and that's what he wanted to do.
Oh, yeah, definitely. It was exciting for him to do that and understand that what we do is a big play offense for wide receivers, and he was smart enough to figure it out, so that was good.
the 2A Player of the Year. That was just announced this week, wasn't it?
Yes, it was, and you know, hopefully I won't screw him up.
Well, I talked with Coach Owens about this, but when you get any Player of the Year nomination in the state of Florida, especially out of a city like Tallahassee, that's a really big deal.
It is a big deal because that's the home of those guys, you know, called whatever they called over there, and you don't. When you know, fortunately, we're going to play them again this year, and so that's exciting to go in that territory and grab one of those guys out of there. That number one is a great person. He's a really tremendous person. I think he has great leadership. He's been a captain 3 years in a row at the varsity level, so that speaks to him. He's also academically a sound student and has just a great personality of getting along with people. And that helps your room as a coach when you have those kind of guys in there, because it's going to get tough. All right, and that ball may not come to you as much as you would like, but what are you going to stand when those times come? And that's been the cornerstone of what we've had at the wide receiver position. Guys that, you know, come to work hard, are all about the team, and it makes it really fun. And you know what? It makes me a real smart coach.
Well, lastly, tell us the story. You said when he came after he visited and chatted with you, he was ready to commit. Mom was ready. Dad wasn't ready, was he?
Dad is the devil's advocate. He always does that, and so he made him answer the hard questions because, you know, as you've noticed lately, all this flipping and flopping and so forth, he wanted to make sure that when you say yes, it is a yes. Not, well, let me, you know, someone else, another good-looking girl's over here talking to me, so let me see what that looks like. So it was great. It was exciting. I'm looking forward to seeing his picture on his sign day. He's supposed to be dressed pretty snappy, so I'm looking forward to it.
All right, wide receivers coach Buzz Preston bringing in wide receiver Christian Philpott. Now we're going to get another man in the backfield, another man to carry the ball for the Yellow Jackets. Let's go back to Pete.
The next one we have is Taquan Marshall, quarterback, A-back, 5'10", 175 pounds from Hamilton, Georgia, Harris County High School, again recruited by Coach Buzz Preston.
All right, so announced as quarterback, A-back. Do you guys know where you see him at this point?
Well, Coach, we're going to sit down, and Coach Johnson will discuss it and see. Right now, tentatively, we're thinking A-back, but he's shown a lot of ability at the quarterback position, as you can see with the stats. It's kind of a funny story about him. Last year, when we were recruiting Keyshawn Freeman, we were at a game, Coach Pelton and myself, and it was Keyshawn that we were looking at, and he's going to be the best. And there's another guy on his team that we won't mention, and so forth. And these are supposed to be the stars, and he was just coming back off an injury, and man, he lit it up. And we were kind of looking at each other like, well, who's the star around here? This guy is really good. So he's a guy that is an explosive player. He can really do a lot of things. In fact, he sent me his YouTube where he was tossing the ball up in his backyard a little bit, and then running it down about 15 yards, you know, and so it was kind of funny. I kind of laughed and so forth. I said, you don't need to get that out too often. So it's exciting to have a guy like him.
Yeah, from Cotulla, and has always been a Yellow Jacket fan. I think he showed you pictures of himself in a Jacket jersey as a youngster.
And Pop Warner, he started off as a Jacket, and always in love with Georgia Tech, and you know, fortunately, dreams do come true. Just like me, Buzz and Buzz of Georgia Tech, all right?
Congrats, Coach Buzz Preston. So Taquan Marshall and 10 recruits have now signed on the dotted line for the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. We take a quick timeout, 4 more when we come back, and we'll also, in the next segment, talk with Athletics Director Mike Babinski about the upcoming 2015 schedule. It's a good one. Stay tuned. Tech from their own 25. Option now, a pitch to Smelter going the other direction. 30's got some room. 40 cuts outside, down the left sideline. 30, 20, 10, and touchdown. DeAndre Smelter, 75 yards. What a year for DeAndre Smelter, the senior who's now moved on from Georgia Tech. And we're meeting the class that's going to replace the guys like DeAndre. We've announced 10 signees so far. We have 3 more, all recruited by Coach Brian Cook. And we start with number 11 right now.
Number 11 is Jalen Ratliff, quarterback, 6'2", 200 pounds, from Laurinburg, North Carolina, Scotland High School, recruited by Coach Brian Cook.
Now, Coach, for those who don't know the story on Jalen Ratliff, he's the guy who was the preseason 4A Player of the Year in North Carolina, which is the largest class in North Carolina, had that ATV accident, I think, 3 days before camp. Is that correct?
Right.
So what's the update on Jalen?
Jalen is he's progressing. He's in good spirits, you know, and he's a kid that he's handling adversity well. He knows what he needs to do, and he's getting better each day.
And you told me he's rehabbing, and his goal is to play football again. And you guys wanted him here as a Yellow Jacket.
Absolutely. You know, he is. He's working hard. He's made a lot of progress. He's not, you know, where he wants to be yet, but he is still determined to play college football.
Rare that you see the lefty quarterback, but you told me not only is he a lefty, he's a very powerful quarterback.
He is. To watch him as a junior when he rushed for over 2,000 yards as a quarterback in the playoffs up there in North Carolina, led his team to the state finals, and would just dominate the games physically, you know, and was in spring practice throwing the ball really nicely too, you know, and so he's got a good skill set.
And I know you said this is, when you're the preseason 4A Player of the Year in North Carolina, naturally the in-state schools are going to be there, and they were all on this guy, so you guys had to fight hard to get him.
They were, you know, and I think he really wanted to be a true quarterback and felt that this was a good fit for him. He fell in love with this place the first time he came down here.
All right, well, the quarterbacks coach is on the stage. We just announced one quarterback. Time to announce another. What do we got, Pete Hurt?
The next one we have is Christian Campbell, quarterback, 6'2", 195 pounds, from Ponchatoula, Louisiana, Ponchatoula High School, recruited by Coach Brian Cook.
Yes, my favorite hometown name, Ponchatoula, Louisiana. This is a guy you told me a lot of SEC schools wanted as a wide receiver or a defensive back. You guys say he's a quarterback.
He is. He's done a great job with the option, as you'll see here on the film, as an athlete in high school, and we're excited to see what he can do for us.
And he is a player that I believe the coach called you on, right? His head coach called you guys?
That's right. He called and said, hey, Coach, I got a guy. And Coach Hank has got a pretty good New Orleans accent, so I can't quite, you know, replicate that. But he said, Coach, we've got an option quarterback down here, and y'all need to get down here and take a look at him. And he was right. He's well worth the trip. And, you know, I think to be the 5A offensive MVP of the state is pretty impressive, and that's what he was this year as voted by the coaches.
Yeah, and that was just named last week. Over 10 yards per carry in his career, over 4,000 rushing yards in his career, and you said one thing you guys always love is when a guy wins a lot of games, and he won a lot of games in high school.
At the quarterback position, I think that's important. You want a guy that knows how to win, and they were 11-0 in the regular season, second in the state, you know.
All right, stay right here. We've got our next commit, number 13, coming from the state of North Carolina.
The next one we have is Marcus Marshall, AB back, 5'10", 200 pounds, from Raleigh, North Carolina, Millbrook High School, by Brian Cook.
Millbrook High School, and of course, Coach, his brother Keith Marshall is a very talented running back at UGA, but you guys won this recruiting battle. Tell us about Marcus.
Marcus is, he really was a late bloomer, had a great senior year, and he's kind of got a chip on his shoulder. You know, I think he's really anxious to get here and prove what kind of running back he is. He's a good young man that's really wired right, great student.
In a sub 4.4 on a regular basis, he runs in the 40. Not many guys do that.
That's right. His dad, has been a track coach with him for a long time, and a track club, and has done a great job with the kids in Raleigh in the training. And Marcus can run, there's no question.
When I asked you about the difference between he and his brother Keith, you said that Marcus is more of an interior runner. He powers through contact.
Keith probably wouldn't tell us that, but that's what Marcus says. You know, I think he's got, you know, the ability for us as a B-back, you know, and just in our backfield in general, any of those 3 spots. You know, I think he's got a lot of versatility because all the different things he can do.
All right, thank you very much, Coach. Congrats on those last 3 recruits.
Thank you.
13 in the books, and now in a minute we're going to take a very short 1-minute timeout. When we come back, we'll visit with AD Mike Babinski and talk about the 2015 schedule for the Yellow Jackets, amongst other things. Stay tuned. Welcome back, everybody. 13 Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets have signed on the dotted line. Plenty more to come. We've got faxes that have been sent in recently that we're going to get to in a second, but we want to take a moment to visit with Director of Athletics Mike Babinski here on the stage. Mike, welcome. We just showed the schedule up there on the screen. Let's talk about that 2015 schedule. It's
Sure.
a darn good one, isn't it?
It is. We trade out the Wolfpack of North Carolina State for a home game with the Florida State Seminoles, a rematch of last year's ACC championship game, which was, as everybody remembers, was a terrific ball game. I think if it had gone 5 more minutes, it would have gone our way. But we're excited to get Florida State back here. We also add a trip to Notre Dame into the mix next year, which is part of their scheduling alliance with the ACC, and that'll be a great experience for our players to play in that environment, for our fans to get a chance to visit up there and experience a game day atmosphere in South Bend. It'll be an even better experience if we find a way to win that thing. I promise you that. But it's a terrific home schedule. We've got Virginia Tech coming back here again. Florida State, as I mentioned, we end with the boys from Athens at the end of the year here. But just a really, really strong home schedule. We think our fans will really enjoy that, and we're excited about the team we're going to put on the field for our folks to watch.
And opening it up on a Thursday night, so the Jackets will be really one of the first, if not the first teams the nation sees.
Yeah, and there's a reason for that. For anybody that's wondering why we would have done that on a Thursday night, we did that consciously. Number one, to get off of the Labor Day weekend, to allow people to enjoy the weekend and have their college football start a little bit ahead of that. And also what's happened the last couple of years, and we can't always avoid this, is that game has been a high noon game, which here in Atlanta, high noon on August 30th or whatever day that is a little warm, as I've noticed. And so we tried to save people's heat exhaustion to the next week. So we're trying to be sensitive to people and hopefully give them an opportunity to see some football and have a great Labor Day weekend also.
Well, with this incredible schedule coming off the Orange Bowl win, the win at Georgia, this is an exciting time, isn't it?
It is. I think last year was one of those special occasions where you watch a team and a group of young men come together, and I've been doing this for a long time, and that doesn't happen every year, where you see guys truly believe in each other, trust each other, push each other, and never lose hope and never lose faith. I think even in every game we played, even the couple that we lost, I mean, we fought and we scrapped right till the very end, and that's a tremendous quality to see in a group of young men, and I was so proud of them. I was so proud of and so happy for the Georgia Tech community to begin to feel good again about itself and about our football program. And I think that's as important as anything to me. And I think it really sets the stage for a terrific future, and I'm excited about that.
Two more things. Just like coaches and the players, you experience ups and downs as an athletic director. This is obviously an up period and a wonderful time. And you make a conscious effort to go out and chat with fans. I know you do that a lot. What are you hearing right now from fans, the general sentiment about the program?
I think really people are excited about what's happened. It's impossible not to be. If you paid close attention to our team last year, we started out and maybe weren't at our very best those first 3 games, found a way to win, miraculously so against Georgia Southern, but then from there really turned the corner, and I think people, and it really started to really percolate at the Miami game here on that Saturday night, which was a tremendous environment, a great example of what Georgia Tech football can look like and feel like. It was as good as it gets in Bobby Dodd that night, and I think people have carried that great feeling, and then capping it off at the end of the year with, win at Georgia, great showing against Florida State, and then honestly a dominant performance against Mississippi State in the Capital One Orange Bowl. It's hard not to feel good about that, and that's what I'm hearing from everybody, and I'm excited for them and for our program.
Lastly, as I'm looking over the recruits that have already signed today and what's coming up, already 3 4.0 GPAs, a couple guys coming in for engineering, so it's neat to see a class coming in again that is very talented on the field. I think everyone sees that. This is a bump up in what's coming in, and also really good in the classroom as well.
Yeah, I think one of the keys to success at Georgia Tech for all of our programs in football, first and foremost, is finding young men that fit Georgia Tech, that are able to handle the academic requirements and value that, and where it's important to them to have the Georgia Tech education, but also are able to compete at a high level. If you bring in folks that are just going to really struggle day in and day out academically, it's going to be hard for them to be at their best in practice and game time. When you find guys, and I think our coaching staff has done a tremendous job of this, and I know it's been a real focus of Coach Johnson and the entire staff, is to find guys that fit, that value Georgia Tech, who we are, what we stand for, and really will make the most of this experience. When you do that, when you find guys that fit, and you coach the heck out of them, you develop them, you've got a chance to have seasons like we had last year, and I'm excited about that.
And a heck of a team GPA this past year, right?
Yeah, I mean, best we've ever had. Best we've ever had, and it's not easy. Anybody that's been at Georgia Tech knows that doing what our team did last year, GPA-wise, is not easy. It's not a layup at all, and across the board, our entire student-athlete population was over 3.0, which we've never done before. We did it in the spring, we did it in the fall. It's like we got a bunch of Brandon Gaudens running around. Just a bunch of
debatable. Did you say 2-0? Yeah. Well, I know that you're meeting with all the head coaches today. You stepped out to do this. We appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having me, Brandon.
All righty. That's Director of Athletics Mike Babinski. A quick timeout. I see defensive coordinator Ted Roof is warming up in the bullpen, and he'll come out for our next recruit after this break.
No.
wide receiver Cherry in motion left to right. Brissett has more. Cortez sacking him from behind. He fumbled it. Neely picks it up. Down the left sideline. He's going to go the distance. 20, 10, 5. He slows up because he can walk into the end zone. Quayshawn Neely, his second touchdown of the year. And 2 defensive touchdowns for the Jackets put them up a pair of scores at the 7-12 mark of the second
Well, it was
quarter.
pick sixes galore and fumble returns for touchdowns. A lot of defensive touchdowns last year for the Jackets, and I've got defensive coordinator Ted Roof on the stage with me right now. He's going to talk about our next signee, and we turn it back over to the podium to find out who that is.
Our next signee is Henri St. Amour, defensive end, 6'3", 236 pounds, from Sewanee, Georgia, North Gwinnett High School, recruited by Coach Ted Roof.
Well, Coach, when I sat in your office the other day, you looked me in the eye. First thing you said about him is he's relentless and he makes big plays.
Yeah, he does. He had, I think, 24 tackles for losses this year, 15 or 16 quarterback hurries. So he's a guy that comes from a really good program, has played at a high level of football, is a team captain, and a guy that we're really excited about.
Well, and as I look at the guys that have committed, so many guys that have family pedigree, his brother right now is training for the NFL Combine. Heck of a career at Georgia Southern.
Yeah, exactly. And, you know, it's a wonderful family. A young man that I think will be a great fit here at Georgia Tech, and we're really excited to have him, and looking forward to seeing him grow and develop and get here first.
An exciting defensive end spot right now. Obviously, we talked with Keyshawn Freeman earlier, but exciting to have another guy at that spot for you.
Oh, absolutely. You know, he's a versatile guy. He's athletic. He can run and has some range, and is just going to continue. I know he's just going to get better and better and better. And like I say, I think that he's cut out of the same cloth as Keyshawn Freeman. And, excited about his future.
Yeah, and lastly, I think his mom and dad are from Haiti, right? Kind of an interesting story.
Yeah, they are. You know, education is valued in that family, and his father's a pastor of a church here in Atlanta, and just a real close family, really, really special. And like I said, he's a leader as a captain of his football team, and excited to have him.
All right, so Henri St. Amour from North Gwinnett. We're not going to go very far. Greater Atlanta Christian is where our next commit is from.
Our next commitment is Tyler Cooksey, linebacker, 6'3", 220 pounds, from Sewanee, Georgia, Greater Atlanta Christian, recruited by Coach Ted Roof.
And Coach, you've known his father, Tom, for a long time. Of course, Tom was a nose guard here in the late 70s.
Yeah, I've known Tom for probably 30 years, and his father was a great player here, and a real passion for Georgia Tech, and thank goodness his son does too.
Aggressive guy. You said he excels at blitzing and rushing the passer from that linebacker spot.
Yeah, he does. He's rangy. He's tall. He's long-limbed, high-hipped. Can run, and like I said, a couple of his strong points are, you know, his aggressiveness and his blitzing and rushing the passer, and he does that really, really well. Has a knack for it. You know, some guys have a knack for it. Everybody has to be taught it, but some guys have a natural instinct, I guess, to be able to do that, and he certainly got that. But really excited about him and what he brings to our defense.
And he went to that Tech UGA game over in Athens, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. Interestingly enough, his girlfriend bought him tickets, and he was sitting in Sanford Stadium wearing all gold, and then walking down the street after we won. I think he probably had got some cat calls or whatever, but he was certainly proud of Georgia Tech, and we're proud to have him.
All right, Tyler Cooksey, linebacker, the next Georgia Tech commit. Coach Roof stays on the stage, and we stay in Atlanta. The next one's from Buford High School. Pete?
Next one is David Curry, safety nickelback, 6'2", 207 pounds, Buford, Georgia, Buford High School, by Ted Roof.
Well, when you talk about pedigree, when you have a father who was a two-time Pro Bowler for the Falcons, that's a pretty good pedigree.
Yeah, that's a good starting point, no question. But, you know, this is about certainly Buddy was a wonderful player, and David is too. And but interestingly enough, a lot of those guys lived within about 10 miles of each other, so it was a good little run for us down that strip of highway right there.
Yeah, this is your area. You obviously know it well, and you had great success, as you said, within a 10-mile radius.
Well, I grew up and I played my high school football, but I didn't have success there. We had success there, and the football's good. I know they're well coached, and you know it's such a high level, and it's important. And you want guys that come from programs where football is important. And once again, you know, Tyler was a team captain, Henri was a team captain, and David was also a team captain. I think his record, his high school record of his football team was 58-2 in his 4 years there. So a guy that understands winning, and versatility is a big key factor with David as well.
Yeah, tell us about that. You see him as a hybrid guy.
Yeah, you know, he played safety, he punted, he returned punts, he played wide out for Buford, and at the same time, his growth potential, he could be a big guy, more of a linebacker sized guy. So, you know, we're going to see where that ends up, but right now start him as that hybrid guy. And interestingly enough, I had him ask me a question that I've never had a young man ask me in recruiting before. He said, Coach, he said, when I get there and let's say I become a starter, he said, can I still play special teams? And I've never had anybody ask me that. And the answer was, heck yes, and we want you even more now. Yeah.
Nice to have that, Coach. Congratulations on all those guys.
Thank
all right, that's Coach Ted Roof. Last year, of course, the Jackets were led by signal caller Justin Thomas, who had an amazing season. And earlier this week, I sat down with Justin to talk about the past, the present, and the future. Well, earlier in the show, we had Keyshawn Freeman on representing the defense, and I asked him if I would have told him at the start of last year that he would have been an All-American and won the Orange Bowl, what would he have said? What if I had told you at the start of last year that you were going to be Orange Bowl champion, Orange Bowl MVP, beat UGA? What would you have said?
I would say that's what we go out there to play for. And that was what our goals was, and we would expect nothing less.
How special was this season for you?
It was, very special. We came out, proved a lot of people wrong. There was a lot of doubters out there, and I felt like we went out there and accomplished things that people didn't think we could.
Are you hungry for more?
Of course, there's always more. We 2 games short of making an ACC game bigger than what it was this time, and feel like we can go out there and compete on the same level this year.
And now next year, the spotlight is obviously going to be pretty bright on you in the Yellow Jackets. Is that something that excites you? It's obvious. It's certainly different from coming into this past season.
I guess so. It'd be more attention on us, and but that also puts a bigger target on our back. So that we just have to come out and work just as hard and play just as hard, or if not harder, than we did last year.
Going into last year, you were going to be the starter because Vadley left, but we weren't entirely sure how it would play out with you and Tim Byerly. Now that you've completely proven yourself with what happened this last year, do you feel more settled this offseason, a little more relief, or is it feel any different?
Not really. We got, I guess, because it was kind of a comfort thing going into last season, because you had a lot of guys that's been around the program for a while. So this year, it's going to have to be an adjustment, getting used to the new guys that's going to be in, B-back and A-back and receiver. So just going through that process, it's going to still be, it won't be uncomfortable, but it's still going to be at the process that we had to get used to.
Yeah, that is a little bit different. What's it going to be like? You were close with all of those guys on the offense skill positions that are gone now. That'll be a big adjustment, I would imagine.
Yeah, because all of those guys brought different roles to the table, so we don't really know what these new guys we're going to have. Besides, we have Dennis, Mike and them, who had a lot of game experience, but the new guys coming in that's going to have to play, we're going to have to get adjusted now.
Going off the script real quick, something you and I haven't talked about yet was the low to high of emotions in that Georgia game. After you fumbled and they scored, they showed you on the sideline and just how dejected you were. What was that moment like? And then what was it like after the team won the game and battled back and you got them in position for the field goal and the eventual pick? Just take us through that range of emotion.
It wasn't a good feeling. Just sitting there watching, hoping the defense could have made a stop. But, at the same time, I wasn't happy, but I wasn't out of the game either, So I was just upset with myself, but I felt like we got the ball back again. We was moving it pretty well, so we was going to be able to get, hopefully, a field goal range.
Yeah, one more question about that. When you did get the ball back, but there wasn't much time on the clock, did you have confidence to get Harrison Butker in field goal range?
He's made some long ones in practice, and I think his longest was a 49, so I felt like if we got at least close enough, he was going to put it in. So,
did you know when you stepped out of bounds on that run that you had gotten him close enough? Did you know where you were on the field?
I knew I got past what it was, like the 45 or something like that. I wanted to go more, but I know it had no timeouts left. So
yeah, you're probably watching the clock, I'm sure. How has your personal life changed? I know you told me a few weeks back that people obviously recognize you a little bit more on campus. So how has that changed just being around Tech and on the flats?
Yeah, you know, people, I guess, you know, notice me more and would say something to me now. But as a whole, you know, it ain't changed much. You know, I tell everybody I'm a regular guy in the regular world. You know, I just go throughout my day, and if I can go through it without any complications, I'm good to go.
You smile a lot. You're the type of guy I bet he smiles when he sleeps.
Nah.
Just all the time. Two other things. Personally for you, what's your off-season focus going to be? What do you want to improve upon before coming into camp in the fall?
Right now it's just, I guess, to get my size back. You know, I lost a little weight during the season, so now I can get, you know, bigger how I want to get, and mainly getting comfortable, used to the guys, like I said, that's going to be around me this year, and making sure that they're game ready to play.
Do you have an ideal size or weight that you're going to target?
I'll probably be about 190, but I'm not far from that now.
Okay, so not a whole lot to gain then. This last thing, obviously, is a signing day. We're going through this process for a lot of guys today. Does it bring back memories for you?
I guess, you know, there was some good and some bad, but yeah, signing day, you know, everything was in the bag. I knew where I was going, so some good memories, yeah.
Seemed like a long time ago?
It does.
You've come a long way since then, haven't you?
Yeah.
Well, obviously a heck of a season, and we're excited about the future. Thanks for the time.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Boy, it was a heck of a season. 6 Georgia Tech quarterback, already over 1,000 yards, still 2 years obviously left of eligibility. Thanks to Justin Thomas for the time. 16 Yellow Jackets have been announced already, and we have Coach Mike Pelton up on the stage for number 17.
The 17th one is Brentavious Glanton, defensive lineman, 6'2", 280 pounds, from Albany, Georgia, Monroe Comprehensive High School, by Mike Pelton.
Coach, congrats on Brentavious. I know when I sat with you in your office, first thing you said is, I knew after 10 minutes of watching this guy, he had it.
Yeah, Coach Roof had went down and saw him, and he wanted me to go watch him practice. So I went out there and, you know, they was going through their normal warm-ups, and they started scrimmaging. And I watched about 6 plays, and his dad had coached. And I went up to his dad, I said, I've seen enough. Because, you know, when you, D linemen, you know, they either got it or they don't. And with this guy, he had explosion, he had quickness, and I seen him run a play, and he was on the right side, and he put his foot in the ground and ran to the left side and ran that guy down. After that, you know, I just didn't take me long, and he was, like I said, 10 minutes and it was done.
Love at first sight.
Love at first sight. No doubt.
His family, I believe you said, is originally from Alabama, like yours. So you had a connection there.
You know what? My brother's best friend played football at Tennessee Chattanooga. So we talking, and he asked me where I was from, and I said Goshen, Alabama. He said I only know one guy from Goshen, Alabama. He was like Ricky Bray, and I'm like Ricky Bray. I said. Then he said, yeah, I played at Tennessee Chattanooga. I said, man, that was my brother's best friend. And so once we hit it off and we found out we was from Alabama, we shared a common bond, and you know, we had a common friend, and you know what, it just took off from there. And once we had that common link, you know, we just hit it off, and it went from there.
Yeah, same high school as Brian Chamberlain, right?
Same high school from Chambo, and Chambo hosted him, and when he would come up, Chamberlain would spend time with him. So it was really just, like I said, love at first sight, perfect fit.
All right. Defensive tackle Brentavious Glanton, welcome to the Georgia Tech family. Coach Mike Pelton has another one, and for that we go back to the podium and Pete Hurt.
Next one is Trent Sellers, defensive lineman, 6'4", 230 pounds, from Tyrone, Georgia, Sandy Creek High School.
Sandy Creek. I think Trent is another guy that you said Coach Roof saw him and said, you need to go take a look at this guy.
I guess, you know, me and Roof just tag team partners on these things. But he saw him, and you know, we went out, like I said, I went down and I saw him, and you know, when I watched his high school film as a junior, it was just enough to make you go see him. But when you went and saw this guy in person, you saw his intensity, you saw his he was just relentless, and that's what I liked about him. I saw him, went to one of his high school games this year. I think he missed the quarterback 4 times, and he never stopped. Every time he missed him, he came back, and that's what I loved about him, just intensity. He loves football, and he's just a great kid.
Well, what I love about chatting with you is you always have a story and a connection to these guys. So tell us your interesting connection to Trent Sellers.
Trent mother was my academic counselor in college, so
how long did it take you to put that together?
I knew, but once I figured that out, I told him, it was a lot once I got that, because they weren't letting me go nowhere else because they wanted somebody to trust me. But when I signed at Auburn as a freshman, she took care of me as a young freshman who didn't have a clue, and it's an honor to be able to do the same thing that she done for me. And I knew the dad from playing at Auburn, and when I coached there, I knew him from there. So this was really just getting him to feel comfortable with Georgia Tech, because everything else, building relationship, was previously already there. So that was a pretty easy fit right there.
And size-wise, he looks ready.
Yeah, Trent's getting bigger, and you just never know what these guys going to turn into. He's a big end right now, and you just love if you see his daddy don't want me to tell his weight, but his daddy a big dude. And so, but like I said, always having in, and Trent, like I said, it was just getting him comfortable with Georgia Tech.
All right, thanks, Coach. Get comfortable. We got you after the break. We have to take a quick timeout. Plenty more to come. Several more Yellow Jackets have signed. We're going to announce those. We'll also hear from 2 more early enrollees. We'll have a special Orange Bowl feature, a look back at the Jackets' win over Mississippi State, and of course, it finishes with head coach Paul Johnson. Stay tuned.
Around him, dropping to throw. Thomas, pressure comes, rolls to his right, throws on the run, completes it to Deion Hill. It's on the 5. Touchdown, Georgia Tech. Welcome back, everybody, back inside the Edge Center Museum here at the Georgia Tech Athletic Association. I'm Brandon Gaudin. 18 commits have been announced already. We will, by the way, recap the class at the end after we talk with Coach Paul Johnson. But right now, we have commit number 19 ready to be announced.
Number 19 is Kyle Henderson, defensive lineman, 6'1", 280 pounds, from Tampa, Florida, Plant High School. Mike Pelton.
All right, Kyle Serge Henderson from Tampa, one of the early enrollees. So this is a guy that has been here a while, but you have recruited Tampa 7 to 8 years. You know this area well.
And the high school he's from is one of those predominant powerhouse schools in Tampa. Plant High School, a bunch of guys that have came out of there. And when I went to see Kyle, you know, you kind of found out it was a connection here with Tech, and he was just a very athletic kid that you fell in love with, that can run. If you know, you're watching the video, you can see him take an interception back and go 56 yards for it. And that was, I told him that was probably his only interception in his career. You get one chance. You get one chance at defensive lineman. He used his up in high school, so maybe.
So you mentioned the connection to Tech. His dad, Kevin, was a linebacker here for Bill Curry, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
No, but do you think this is a guy right away that can compete at D tackle?
You know what? He's got an advantage because he's here for the spring. He showed up a little bit heavy, so we got to work on getting him in shape. But he's here. He got a chance, and that's the same thing kind of Keyshawn did. Came in early, learned the system, and learned how everything's worked. So he's got to get himself in some shape, but he's ahead of the game because he's here.
Lastly, you mentioned the athleticism and versatility. He played fullback and tight end some. Right. You don't see that from a defensive tackle, do you?
No, you really don't. But the school used him a lot on the goal line, and that was one of the intriguing things about him, that he could move and he could take the ball and make cuts, and that's what you want to see on defense, a real athletic guy with the kind of offenses we playing.
All right. Thanks a lot, Coach. Congrats on those guys. We're going to switch to Coach Andy McCullum here in just a second. 19 recruits in the book. I've just told in my ear that we already have 3 more in, so we're trying to get these to you as quickly as we possibly can. But for announcement number 20, again, it's going to be one of Coach Andy McCullum's guys. We go back over to Director of Player Personnel, Pete Hurt.
Our next one is wide receiver Harlan Howell, 6'3", 200 pounds, from Marietta, Georgia, Wheeler High School, recruited by Coach Andy McCullum.
Welcome back to the stage.
Before we get started, can I make like an announcement? When I talked about Marietta High earlier, and I talked about the legends from Marietta, come here, Simmet. I failed to mention the legendary Simmet Shaw from Marietta High School.
Legend.
Okay. I want to make sure I got that.
All right. Woo. Legend. That's bold there.
Oh,
that's
Coach
bold.
Johnson went to Marietta High and has a lot of stories on Simmet. Comes from a lot of people, but we can't detail those on live camera.
Simmet does a great job helping with the social media here, for sure. So Harlan, an early enrollee, a guy local, went to Wheeler, wanted to stay local, and he stayed firm to his commitment.
He did, and Harlan's a class act. He played for Coach Collins over at Wheeler High School, and Coach has done a great job over there. He's ran track, 110-meter hurdles, and very athletic, very unselfish. I think what Coach Johnson talks about, when you look at our team and look the dynamics of what we do, this is a kid that enjoyed blocking, enjoyed catching the ball, wanted to be part of it, and comes from a great family, and got out early here, raw. Coach Buzz will do a great job with him, and hoping he'll be one of the great receivers here.
Well, with all the twists and turns that recruiting can bring, I'm sure it's nice to have a guy who commits early and says, I am firm in that commitment.
Oh,
right?
No doubt. We wasn't sitting up waiting on him last night or let some schools up the road try to beat on our guys. He was sitting here so they can beat on him while he's in the dorm over here at Georgia Tech, so that was pretty good.
And lastly, with losing the guys that you lost last year at wide receiver, this was a big priority, and he's a guy that fits the big, long, rangy receiver build.
He does, and Coach Bud does a tremendous job with those guys, and this is a guy that's got the frame. I think he's going to continue getting bigger and bigger. I mean, his daddy is big, and and so we think he's that build, and plus, like I said, he enjoys the game and he wants to do what's best for the team, and those guys what you want.
Well, congrats on that. The only thing bad here is that I'm looking at my next 4 cards, and I have to talk to you a lot more coming up. So.
You're gonna like it. and I got a lot to say.
Kyle and Harlan are both early enrollees. Earlier we played our first early enrollee interview, and now we play early enrollee interview number 2. So Harlan is the local product from nearby Wheeler High School, but actually, Kyle, you've got the really close tie to Tech with your father, Kevin, playing linebacker here in the 80s, and you told me that he actually played with defensive coordinator Ted Roof.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Him, Coach Roof, and Coach Saeed, one of the directors of player personnel, all played together So they had a close knit.
And you had all these offers. You told me over 20 of them. So how instrumental was your father playing here? How much did that impact you committing to Tech?
Honestly, I didn't really pay attention to that. You know, growing up, my dad always told me he didn't care where I went. You know, if I wanted to go to Tech, that was great. But if I wanted to go somewhere and make my own legacy, it'd be even greater. So it didn't really play a part. He didn't like pressure me into going to Tech or anything like that.
What about you, as far as being from, as I said, Wheeler High School? How important was it for you to stay local?
Well, it was very important for my parents and family and friends to come watch me play. So, you know, that was a big, major decision, part of my recruiting process. But also, you know, as I was looking over, you know, other offers, I just think Tech was the best for me.
And you told me, and you've told a couple other places, that you didn't want to drag out this recruiting process. You know, a lot of kids nowadays like to wait till that last second,
Right.
get a little extra attention. But what was your mindset? Why did you want to get this done early?
Because I just want to get off my chest. You know, the recruiting process can get crazy sometimes, and I just wanted to get off my chest. So that was basically, you know, the real reason.
Yeah, for both of you, I'm sure this recruiting process can be a little bit of a cat and mouse game, right?
Right,
I mean,
yes, sir.
It's got to be incredibly interesting. So you commit early, and now you also know that two very good wide receivers are moving on, in DeAndre Smelter and Darren Waller. Did that impact your decision at all?
Yes, sir, definitely. Yes, sir. That was a chance, you know, for me probably get, you know, good playing time early. So that was a good, you know, decision that I made to come into Tech.
And did either of those guys, did you visit or chat with them much when you came here on your recruiting trips?
Yes, sir, both of them, especially Darren Waller. He told me, he seen my highlights and he was impressed. He told me if I just, you know, taking good coaching, the coach's buzz is telling me, then I'll be fine.
Kyle, as far as a biggest strength and weakness in your game right now, what would you point to coming into college?
My biggest strength would probably be my listening skills. I feel like, and other people have told me, I take coaching really well. Like if I take a certain step wrong or do a certain thing wrong and they tell me about it, I'll listen to them because nobody's gonna, you know, steer me wrong. So I will listen to them and I'll change that in my game really quickly. So, and my ability to adapt.
Okay, what about a weakness you're really wanting to improve upon?
A weakness is probably my speed. I'm pretty quick, you know, first 10 yards, and that's really important, but I still want to be, you know, 40 yards fast, you know, be able to catch those people in college. I did it in high school, but high school is a different game. So, I mean, college is a different game, so it'd be more important if I was a little bit faster.
All right, Harlan, same question for you, strength and weakness.
Well, just like Kyle, I take in good, you know, listening, taking good coaching, and also my weakness is probably to improve my strength.
Just to get physically bigger and stronger. I'm sure seeing guys like Smelter and Waller that we talked about and how big and physical they were, because you've got to block in this system, and you know
yes,
that.
Sir.
The coaches remind you of that, I'm sure,
yes,
already.
Sir. If you don't block, you don't get the rock. So, yeah.
With you coming in at such a high time for the program, being ranked 7th in the poll at the end of the year, Kyle, just how exciting is that, and do you feel extra excitement coming into this year?
It is very exciting because last year they didn't have such a good season, so when I committed, because I committed kind of early, people were like, why are you going to Georgia Tech? So just seeing that we were 11-3 this year, it made people think like, let me take a second look at Georgia Tech. Even one of my teammates who was also getting recruited, at first he was like, I'm not going to Georgia Tech. Now he's like, you know, trying to get on the bandwagon. So it's too late now. We already full.
And I'm sure a similar story for you too,
way,
right?
Yeah, exactly similar story. You know, people tell me like Harlan, why are you coming to Tech? You know, you're better than that. You know, that actually hurt me. You know. So, and then after coming from a season that the way Georgia Tech just had, everybody was looking at different ways at me. So.
Yeah, well, now you guys are here at an exciting time, and we're certainly glad to have you. So welcome aboard. Thanks for the time.
Thank you.
Harlan and Kyle already on campus. Welcome to both of them. Coach McCollum still up here on the stage with me, and the next announcement is a set of twins. Just like Lance and Lawrence, we had those twins last year, and a new set of twins here in the 2015 class.
The next ones we have are Brad and Scott Morgan, offensive line and defensive linemen from Woodstock, Georgia, Etowah High School by Coach McCollum.
Etowah High School twins, second year in a row, seeing double, Coach.
It is, and looking for the next twins now. And I still have a hard time with the ones we have here with Lance and Lawrence, but the mother helped me with those twins because one's got a mole here and one's got a mole here. So it's kind of weird as a coach to go look and say, all right, let me look at this mole and look at that mole to figure out which ones they were. But they come from a great program, Etowah High School, and I can't even say Coach Sobala. you know, does a tremendous job. They went all the way to the semifinals this year, and you know, got beat by the state champion. But you know, these two guys, when they walk in the room, you can say there's two football players. I mean, they look like what they're supposed to look like.
Yeah,
no doubt.
You told me when they shake your hand, they knock you down. Kind of like when I shake your hand.
I mean, it's like they walk up to you, but they don't stop. They keep walking while they shake your hand. You know, and you just kind of smile and try to brush it off. But they're great kids. They love Georgia Tech. You know, they try to follow every game. I think they tried to get to the Orange Bowl, and I think they stayed with family down there. But they're come from a great family, like all of them, and great high school program.
Were they a package deal? How does that work, recruiting?
You know, earlier it wasn't. You know, you try to think it was, where Lance and Lawrence really were, but they both had a lot of offers from different schools. And so they were not a package deal early. And I think as the process went, they wanted to play together, and or had the opportunity at a great place to play together. And so it's worked out good for us and good for them.
And lastly, just to clarify, Brad will be on the O-line and Scott will be on the D-line.
Yeah, Brad just got named the Cherokee Gridiron Club, run by Dan Carmichael. Brad got named the Offensive Lineman of the Year. They have a first-class banquet up there that I had the privilege to speak at. And Scott got named Defensive Player of the Year in the whole county. And so they're both tough guys. They like it. They like playing. They like hitting you in the mouth. They're what you're looking for in the trenches.
All right. Thank you very much, Coach. That's a look at Brad and Scott Morgan, the twins. Well, the rest of the recruits are in, so we just have to unveil them. We'll do that after this, and we'll also take a look back at the Jackets' win down in Florida against Mississippi State. Stay tuned. Inside of 4:30 remaining third quarter. Tech up 35-20 and searching for more. Thomas keeps, runs, inside the 10, inside the 5, and he goes all the way into the end zone for his third touchdown run of the game. B.J. Bostic with a lead block. And how about the redshirt sophomore? Came in with 5 rushing touchdowns. He now has 8 on the season. You'll see more from that Orange Bowl game in just a little bit. But before we get to that package, we have 3 more recruits ready to announce, all recruited by Andy McCullum. Let's go back to the podium.
Our next one is Mikael Lance Davis, B-back, 5'11", 205 pounds, from Douglasville, Georgia, Alexander High School, by Coach McCollum.
Well, his numbers are pretty good. Career 4,300 rushing yards, 1,800 receiving, 65 touchdowns. Those are pretty impressive stats.
He's still tired.
Before, you know, I know some of these guys, stars, no stars, whatever, but I know that's a system you feel a little interesting about.
Yeah, now that you mentioned it, you know, let me tell you what I think about stars, and I work for a man that I'm looking at a guy we just had committed as a Parade All-American, Gatorade Player of the Year in the state of Georgia, probably the best football player, I mean, and he's a 3-star. You know, and you sit there and look at things like that, and sometimes when a kid commits to Georgia Tech, they drop a star anyway, and we all know that. So you look at our senior class that just won this Orange Bowl, and I think Coach Johnson, and I know Coach Johnson's philosophy for us is no matter on all that, when they walk out of here, we just had a bunch of 5-star seniors just leave his class. So our job is to take these guys and make sure that they're stars, because everybody gets caught up in the rankings, everybody gets caught up in that, and you know, we like what we have, and we win with what we have, and that's Coach Johnson's philosophy. And let's make sure when they leave there, they got 5 stars by their name, not when they come in, when they go out.
Well, and this guy, Mikael Lance Davis, a B-back, this is a guy, whatever the stars were next to him, all the big schools were after this kid.
No doubt. And Mikael had a great career for Coach Combs down there. I mean, he is, you know, we recruited him very hard. It was a great teamwork by our staff. Comes from a great family. Mother's a very hard-working lady, Miss Kelly, and wanted him close. And he had opportunities to go a lot of places, and he made his decision. He got banged on pretty good here recently, and we're very proud. 4-year starter in basketball, was a big-time basketball player early in his career. And I think the basketball players he played with kept going this way, and he kind of stayed the same. And so we're very excited about Mikael and getting him into the program and watching him continue to grow.
All right, Mikael Lance Davis, a B-back, and now he's from Douglasville. Let's keep it in the state. Let's go to Carrollton. Right, Pete?
The next one we have is Dante Wigley, defensive back, 6'1", 183 pounds, from Carrollton, Georgia, Carrollton High School, by Andy McCollum.
Same high school as Broderick Snoddy. Lots of tradition there.
A lot of tradition. You know, played for the state championship a year ago. Dante's had a great career. He's long. He's a 6'2", 190-pound guy, physical. Coach Ed Dudley, who I think everybody in the state of Georgia is familiar with, has just taken a job at Carrollton. And so it's a transition year for Carrollton this year, and I know he'll have them right back up to the top. But Dante was captain of the team, and really like his talent, all region, all county, all the things. And he's another one got banged on pretty good the last couple of weeks. And Joe Speed, our secondary coach, did a tremendous job helping with the process on Dante. I mean, it's, you know, when we went in there and spent a lot of time, and Joe was one that really helped get the thing closed and hang on to him at the end. So I'm real proud of that.
Final note on Dante, I know that he played some running back too, but you guys see his future at cornerback.
He's a corner. He'll be a long corner, a physical guy. And we're excited. He was one of our targets early, and we really like his ability, and his mom's done a tremendous job raising him. Very quiet guy, very humble person, and will be a great fit. He's one that has some Georgia Tech history. I think the granddad was a big Georgia Tech fan, and it's nice when we finally walk into some places and there's Georgia Tech ties, and they're proud of Georgia Tech like we all are. And this was one of the kids that had some Georgia Tech ties, and kind of it's a pleasure when you hear somebody grow up and say, I grew up a Georgia Tech fan. Wow, let's go get him. So.
All right, well, we're going to stay on the defensive side of the football for commit number 25. Let's go back over to Pete Hurt.
Our next one is Dorian Walker, defensive back / wide receiver, 6'1", 175, Kennesaw, Georgia, Mount Perrin Christian, by Andy McCollum.
Mount Perrin Christian played shutdown corner, also had 2,200 rushing yards and 34 touchdowns as a running back.
He is a tremendous athlete. Comes from a school that hadn't been playing football long. Mitch Jordan, another Georgia Tech, former Georgia Tech assistant coach here, grad assistant, I think, in that role. Another guy that loves Georgia Tech. Dorian really came on. I mean, he's got great speed. He's a tough guy. He's a Class A, most valuable player in the state of Georgia, state champion, MVP in the state championship game. Kind of an under radar guy for a while. I think as you knew in the process when he got to the Dome that everybody's going to see what this one was all about. Very long, arms hang down, long. I know when Coach Johnson went to the school and met him, was sold as soon as he saw him walk in the room, and then, you know, when coming out of a very great academic school with a lot of success there, and they've just state champion and first state championship in Cobb County since
1967.
Since the Blue Devils won it in '67.
Who was on that team?
It wasn't me. No, I was in '92.
Yeah, right. Dorian Walker, the 25th Yellow Jacket. There's only 2 more signees to announce. Both of those are in. But before we get to 26 and 27, let's take a look at that memorable Orange Bowl victory. Proving doubters wrong all season, the 12th-ranked Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets arrived in Miami a 7-point underdog to SEC-powered Mississippi State. The underdog storyline is one Tech was used to all season in wins over Virginia Tech, Clemson, Miami, and Georgia. But this brand of Bulldogs presented a different challenge, being led by one of the nation's elite dual-threat quarterbacks, Dak Prescott. But on just the 3rd play from scrimmage in the 2014 Orange Bowl, it was the Yellow Jacket defense who set the tone against the Mississippi State signal caller.
Mississippi State going quickly. Again, a 4-receiver set from the right hash. Prescott over the middle, popped in the air, and is it intercepted? Yes, it is! Intercepted by Chris Milton off the deflection, diving to the ground to haul it in at the 36-yard line.
And just 4 plays later, all on the ground, the Jackets hit pay dirt. On the ensuing drive, the Bulldogs marched into Tech territory, but they stalled and found themselves at the 32-yard line, 4th and 4. Instead of a long field goal try, Dan Mullen elected to roll the dice. Later that quarter, on 2nd and 13, the Jackets took their first shot downfield.
1st and 10 from Mississippi State's 41. Thomas, now he's going for the home run ball for Waller. Waller caught it in the end zone. A flag comes in, but I think it's pass interference. And Darren Waller, if that flag goes in favor of Tech, just hauled in his 6th touchdown reception of the season.
Then Mississippi State woke up, rattling off the next 13 points on a touchdown sandwiched between 2 Evan Sobey-esque field goals. And with 5:12 left in the 2nd quarter, it was a game again. Tech's lead had diminished to 1. The Jackets responded, however. Justin Thomas guided his unit down the field, and once inside the 15, Thomas did the rest.
Lasky's the B-back as Tech is ready to roll on 2nd and 9 from the right hash at the 13. Thomas makes the toss play, rolls right, running it, 10, 5, dives for the pylon, touchdown, Georgia Tech!
Tech had an 8-point lead and the momentum, but on the last play of the first half, Mississippi State pulled a rabbit out of their hat. So now it was the Bulldogs who were energized and amped into the lockers. There was a fear that the Hail Mary would be the climax leading to an unraveling. But the Jackets were set to receive the ball in quarter number 3, and St. John Days put that storyline to bed quickly.
Carries 38 yards for Perkins, 2nd and 4. Handoff Days, 1st down and more, 40. Breaks 1 tackle, 45, 50. 1 man to beat, and he does it down the left sideline. 30, 20, kiss him goodbye. 10, 5, touchdown. St. John Days. 69 yards to the end zone, busting tackles the whole way.
After Mississippi State failed on another 4th down conversion, Tech got the ball back. 6 straight B-back runs put the Jackets in Bulldog territory, and then the redshirt sophomore quarterback showed his elite athleticism yet again.
This time, Thomas keeps it after the fake to the B-back, dances through 2 defenders, and marches inside the 20, inside the 10, and all the way into the end zone. A 32-yard touchdown run for Justin Thomas, his 2nd of the game. He's over 150 yards on the day, and the Jackets have a 2-score lead. After 3 straight Bulldog first down plays put them in Tech territory, the Jacket defense, ranked top 15 in the country in turnover margin, was opportunistic once more. Right now he's looking over at his head coach Dan Mullen. Now he went over and told his tight end Malcolm Johnson something, gets back, runs a speed option left, pitch and a fumble, Tech recovers it at the 47, Roderick Rook-Chungong has a sack, and now a fumble recovery, and Tech has the football. 6 plays later, Thomas made magic happen for a 3rd time and gave Tech a commanding lead. After going scoreless in quarter 3, Mississippi State finally tacked on 7 points early in the 4th, but their defense simply could not stop the Ramblin' Wreck. After a failed onside kick attempt for the Bulldogs, Tech quickly went 46 yards to put the game out of reach. Still on the right hash. 1 receiver out to the left. Everybody else close to the line. Handoff. Days running left, diving end zone, touchdown! St. John, the engine, Days, his 3rd of the game. The senior St. John Days went out in style to the tune of 171 yards, along with the 3 touchdown runs. And later that quarter, an impressive Yellow Jacket performance was rewarded with a victory formation. Justin Thomas was named MVP for his efforts. The Prattville, Alabama native ran for 3 scores and threw for another, as Tech and ACC Coach of the Year Paul Johnson once again proved doubters wrong, capping a magical season in emphatic fashion. And the Jackets have done it. A very special 2014 ends with a sweet taste of citrus. And we are pleased to have the Orange Bowl trophy right here on stage with us. And by the way, a special thanks to Simmet Shah for putting the oranges in the bowl earlier this morning, filling that up. But a magical season, 11 wins. Tech's 7th trip to the Orange Bowl ends in a big-time victory over Mississippi State. 25 recruits in and 2 more to announce. We go back to the podium for number 26.
Our next commitment is Nathan Cottrell, A-back from Knoxville, Tennessee, 5'11", 185 pounds, from Knoxville West High School by Mike Seawalk.
Coach, welcome back to the stage. When I sat with you, you told me this guy is a consistent 4.340 guy. That is about as rare as it gets.
I don't think I said 4.3, but he can get down there every once in a while.
Oh, well, I'm rounding down.
Oh, you're rounding down. Very good, very good. He can get down there. He's a very fast kid. He went to a bunch of camps this summer, and every time he ran, he was down in the 4.4s, and he had some times down there low, but very good vertical jump, very good athlete, very explosive. Took his team to, or part of a team that went to back-to-back state championships, won it this year. Gave Coach Scott Cummings a Coach of the Year award out there at the West Rebels, his first state title in the history at West. He's the all-time leading rusher. He has some unbelievable facts. I mean, he ran 14.3 yards per carry. I mean, the guy has 60 touchdowns in his career. Can catch the ball coming out of the backfield. He ran in a split back veer offense, so he's used to the option. He knows he's got a block. He came, one thing that he did do is God bless him, he came to that cold, wet spring game when we played it at night. Him and his dad came, Alan and Emily, and they enjoyed the game. I don't know how they could have enjoyed that game, but they got froze up and wetted out pretty good, and then came back for the camp in July. Ran some good times. Coach Owens liked what he did in the field. Coach Johnson liked what he did out in the field, and we were fortunate to get him into the fold early in July, and he stuck with us the whole time. I mean, he's a guy that can break a game open. Had a kickoff return against Maryville, which is Tennessee, which is probably the first one they had in like 90 games. And then everybody up there talks about his speed and his athleticism, and he's a very good student.
Quickly, you mentioned playing in that split back veer offense and having to be the lead blocker a lot. How important was that in recruiting this kid?
It was he saw himself playing in this offense. He came to the Georgia Southern game and he saw Perkins' 63-yard run out of the counter tray, and he said, that's the play we got in our game, and it was sold from that point on. And I think that he kind of enjoyed the fact that he doesn't have to learn a whole new offense, and he really feels comfortable with our kids, and he did a great job in recruiting other players. up there. He helped me with Brant, and he helped me with a couple of the kids in the future.
All right, Nathan Cottrell, A-back, and also a returner from Knoxville, Tennessee West High School, is the 26th recruit. And that means we've come to number 27 and the final recruit of the 2015 class for the Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. Last but not least, who do we have, Pete Hurt?
We have Miko Dotson, defensive back, 5'11", 185 pounds, from Daytona Beach, Florida, Mainland High School, recruited by Coach Lamar Owens. Coach Owens is back. I know you're happy. You're on the edge of your seat up here. When I sat with you about Miko, you educated me. You said he's from District 9 at Daytona Beach, and that is a very, very good district, and he was a player of the year.
Correct. You know, Miko's a guy that, like a lot of these guys in this class, you know, teams that did very well, went very deep into the playoffs, you know, 3-year starter, team captain, and he'll give us some real depth in the secondary.
Track, 4x100, a lot of speed.
Correct. You know, last year he was on the track team that I believe they had the second fastest time in the state, and they broke their school record with the 41.66 and 4x1, and he was the second leg on that track team.
And while I've got you up here, we talked about Miko Dotson. I did want to quickly ask you about J.J. Green. Won't be eligible this year, but when you're reloading from all the guys you lost a year ago, that was a really nice transfer to get, obviously, a talented player in J.J. Green.
Correct. You know, honestly, just very excited about the entire class, and JJ is another one of these speed guys that can defeat defenders with the ball in his hand, that I'm just so thrilled to have the opportunity to coach.
All right, thank you very much, Lamar. Miko Dotson, the 27th and final recruit in the 2015 class. Well, we're going to have Coach Johnson in just a second, but before we do that, let's go ahead and show up on the screen what is in this 2015 class, a little recap by position, and it is a balance. You're looking at them alphabetically there, but it is a healthy balance of offense and defense, several linebackers, a lot of A and B backs, and of course, as you look at the positions, realize that is what they project at, but oftentimes that can change. Curry, the safety and nickel package there, a two-way guy, or not a two-way guy, but a hybrid guy, and on down the line. And then our final screen, that's a look at the rest of the 2015 class. And we're going to talk when we get back about all of those guys, all 27 of them. We'll get the thoughts of head coach Paul Johnson when we return after this timeout.
Understood, the stuff in the bang for the cause, and I should, cause you friend, bang with the force. Rats playing in the wall.
He goes down to a knee, and the Jackets have done it. A very special 2014 ends with a sweet taste of citrus.
He got dumped with a Gatorade. Now he's on stage with me. Coach Paul Johnson, the 2014 ACC Coach of the Year and the Orange Bowl champion coach. Well, Coach, congrats on obviously an incredible season, and congrats on really a spectacular class.
Well, thanks. I tell you, I'm really proud of our staff. I think they put in a Herculean effort, especially finishing up here at the end. I was really excited that we were able to finish this thing up and have no surprises. And basically we were kind of done by 9:30. We had everything in, and really got most of them in by 8:30. We were only missing a couple. So went the way we had hoped, and we're looking forward to these guys coming in and being a big part of the family. And thanks to you guys for coming out. I tell you, a great crowd this morning. We appreciate you being here.
Yeah, they even gave you a standing ovation when you walked in.
I know. I was trying to figure out which was worse, getting dumped by the Gatorade or being up here with you, but you're helping me out now.
Even in a 5-minute interview, you can't go through it without taking a jab, can you? No.
You're such an easy target.
Oh, you are. You need to come up with a new line. You say that one all the time. When we talked about your class last year, you said you'd gotten balance. You liked where your numbers are. Do you like the balance of this year's class?
I do. I think that we've gotten to the point where we've got the positions pretty much with the right numbers. It took a while to do that. We're still kind of working on getting the right class mix where we don't have 6 or 7 guys in the same class at the same position, which is a little bit tougher to do because you lose guys. But you know, I'm happy with where we are. I think we're in a good spot, and we've got you know, good potential and some good depth almost at every position now.
An A and B back, I'm sure an emphasis there where the guys lost.
Well, we lost a lot of guys at that position, so we've got some guys who I think can play both. We've got a couple of young freshmen in school now that, you know, C.J. Leggett that was redshirted and Quaid's here already that can compete. And then we've got probably 3 of the running backs that I would consider crossover guys, A's and B's. So we'll take a look at them and come up with a couple of pretty good guys for fall.
Is it tough to gauge a target number with knowing how many guys are going to be in the class and all the things that shift last minute?
You know, it is. I think it's a moving target, but we know a lot of things on the inside that outside people don't know about whether guys are planning on coming back or different situations, and I feel good about where we are. I think our numbers are going to take care of themselves.
Brad Stewart's dad, one of your commits, said in an article I read yesterday, whatever Coach Johnson says during recruiting, you can take it to the bank, and everybody says that. You're a guy that you don't mess around. You don't play the cat and mouse game.
Well, you try not to. I mean, you're dealing with people's lives, and you know, it's an important deal, but it's hard sometimes with all the changes and the flips and the switches. And what I want to do is I try to present sometimes the worst case scenario, and then if it gets better, it gets better. So, you know, hopefully we're able to work that out, and we're excited about Brad. I think he's going to be a real valuable asset to our program.
2 more things. I know you're going to talk in length a little bit later, but all the excitement around the program, what's that been like since the Orange Bowl?
Well, it's been great. I think as you go out, you know, recruiting and go out to the high schools and you see, you know, everybody out there, I think there's a good positive vibe going. It's some momentum that we got to continue to build on, and you know, we've got to fight that because it's pretty apparent. You walk in the schools in state and you don't see as many GTs as you do some of the other schools. So it's great to have that momentum and to be able to go out this fall and this winter after having won the big in-state game. It makes it a lot easier.
When Lamar Owens was up here earlier, he talked about just kind of the relief when all the players sign and it's over. What's it like as a head coach? Is it relief right now?
You know, it went like I expected, and I would say relief's after the last weekend. But you know, it's never over till you get the signed letters. But I feel like this class not only is good athletically, but I think they're a good fit at Georgia Tech. And you know, I don't think we didn't have a lot of guys that I worried about. I mean, I think once they gave you their word, strong family, strong guys, and I was pretty sure that we were going to get all the stuff in this morning, and we did.
Yeah, you did, Coach. 27 great wins. Congratulations again.
All right, thank you.
All right, that's Coach Paul Johnson. How about a hand for the 2014 ACC Coach of the Year? That does it for our program. Before we go, there are some people we have to thank. There were 10 other people behind the scenes making this production possible. Our producers, Andy Blanton and Todd McCarthy. Director, Arthur Kai. On graphics, Carly Welsh. We had 3 good cameramen, Leland Leverett, Elris Anyaibe, Bob Burkhart. On audio, Val Gerfen and Ryan Collins. And then our tape op was Blaine Reed. So thanks to all those guys for helping make this production possible. Thanks, everybody, for watching. We hope you're excited about the class, and we can't wait to see you on the flats this fall. Stay tuned.